got down to the bottom of page Kuf Aleph. The bottom is Daled. On the first page, base Daled. Goes on to the next page. And the Rebbe's beginning to deal with a whole new issue in the mind. Having explained what we explained, which is Baruch Hashem still on the board, the different levels of Chav Daled, Chav Hei, Chav Vav, which means Havai Elokim, Havai de Latata, Havai de Le'elo, Baruch Shem, Hashem Echad, Hashem Elokeinu, all of these different levels. So obviously, the highest level is the third level, and that seems to come into revelation in Chav Vav Kislev. That's what's being said very clearly in this mind. But as we mentioned yesterday, that there's something rather problematic about that, and especially based on the fact that we already learned Tana Rabbanan, and Tana Rabbanan taught us that the whole Inyan of Hanukkah is a Gilui of Yechidish Benefesh. The whole Inyan of Hanukkah is a Gilui of that level that we're calling Yochid, not Echad. That's Hanukkah. That's why it's 8 days. That's why it's a level of light that's able to penetrate into the darkness and elevate the darkness. It's not a level of light of the natural order. The natural order can't possibly elevate itself. It has to be a level beyond the natural order that comes into the natural order to elevate it. So how can it be that on one hand we're talking about Chav Daled, Chav Hei, Chav Vav, which is an absolutely amazing idea and a beautiful idea. On the other hand, but we know Hanukkah is all, so to speak, in the context of that scheme, so Hanukkah is all Chav Vav. Well, really, we should just celebrate Chav Vav, because Chav Vav is the revelation of Yechidah. Chav Vav is the revelation of Yochid. But wasn't all Hanukkah that? Okay. For that reason, the Rebbe mentions in Daled that we do things slightly differently on Hanukkah, whereas the menorah was on the right, the menorah was on the right, but the Hanukkah is on the left. We're going to see why at the end of this paragraph, why the Hanukkah is on the left. That again, the Rebbe talks about the number of 8. The Hanukkah, the menorah had 7 candles. The Hanukkah has 8, which is l'mayla mishtalshlus, beyond the natural order, which is the level of light that can penetrate into the darkness and elevate the darkness. And that's what we ended with yesterday. So let's keep going in Daled, because we're basically asking the question in Daled, not giving the answer yet. All right, so I'll start after the fourth line up, V'havaya b'tosefes Vav, with an additional Vav, Yegia Choshki, that the level beyond Shem Havaya is what illuminates the dark. Shem Havaya, when we're talking about Havaya in this context, we're talking about Havaya, the Latata, which is the level responsible for natural reality. And right, the prisoner can't free himself. Nature can't transcend itself. Right? V'or zeh, and this light, shalamayla mishtalshalus, how was it drawn down? Nimshach hayidei mesiras nefesh, damat Yisrael Abana, was drawn down by, again, this is Tana Rabbanan, this is the Maimon we learned. That is brought down by the Mesiras Nefesh of Matasyahu Ubanav. Now, when did that Mesiras Nefesh start? Ultimately, what's the greatest expression of that Mesiras Nefesh? Mesiras Nefesh of Matasyahu and his children. Simple pshat, that you don't need to look at the board, you don't need to think about it. It's simple pshat in Hanukkah that anybody in the street could answer.
They went to war against massive iceberg.
They went to war against these creepy guys who were very strong. So that's Kaf Daled. The Ikar Mesiras Nefesh is the war. No Mesiras Nefesh in finding the Bach Shem, and there's no Mesiras Nefesh in this incredible miracle that happens, that the light burns 8 days. That's not Mesiras Nefesh. That's just the Eibishter doing tricks. Right? The Mesiras Nefesh is Dafka the war. Right? Which is really interesting, because in our scheme that's not there yet. That's Yehuda Tata, that's the Milchama. We understand that. It makes perfect sense why there's a Milchama there, but I don't understand that. So then how is the Mesiras Nefesh there? Because Mesiras Nefesh is Yechidish Nefesh. It's the highest level. Mesiras Nefesh comes from what level? Azoy v'nitandurish, right? This is the way it is, and there is no other way. There's no opposition. There's nothing. It's just Elokus. All there is God. That's the third level. Huh? Great question. The answer is even better. I was going to explain an Indian in a Veata in Achdus Hashem that is absolutely astounding. we've seen it on a certain level in Pada B'Shalom. We saw it there when we learned Pada B'Shalom, and now it's going to be explained much more fully. Behind it, Shashaychus the Orzeh, the relevance of this light, with darkness, meaning the ability of this light to come down and illuminate the dark. Shahaya az he, that was then, the darkness was then in Greeks. There's two different aspects of this whole event. And this is generally the case, right? Milamata lamaylu, milamay lamata, from below above and from above below. Below above is our service. We're below, we're doing something. Hopefully that so to speak reaches above, and then there's a response, milamayla. Now sometimes the initiation is milamayla. Pesach is all about milamayla. Right? There's no Veata in Pesach. We didn't do anything. I mean, the best thing we did was we didn't change our clothes and we didn't change our language. Right? So, okay, fine. So we called ourselves Jewish names and we wore Jewish clothes, which is very, very nice. That's good, but halavai, that would be enough to bring Mashiach now, because it would have happened a long time ago. Right? Seems the guy has to be a little more serious now. Pesach is basically all milamayla lamata. It's all from above below. The Abish are doing unbelievable miracles, and we just sort of are pulled along with it all. Right? Hanukkah starts milamata lamayla. It starts with incredible Mesiras Nefesh below, of the Matas Yehovah. And what does that bring me lamayla lamata? The revelation of unbelievably powerful godly light. The victory in the war, the Pach Shemen, and the oil burning, 8 days. Milamata lamayla lamayla. Milamata lamayla, from below above. Shemitzad goydel hachishach, as a result of the greatness of the darkness, the power of the darkness. And this is so often the case, and it's actually one of the reasons given in Chassidus as to why the Eibishter seems to like Gullus on some level. That what does the darkness produce? Shaya az nis'ara etzlam, it was aroused in them koyach Mesiras Nefesh, a power of Mesiras Nefesh, of self-sacrifice, l'mayla mishtalshelis, comes from beyond the natural order, shabbat, beyond the natural state of a person. In other words, beyond the revealed, they're not completely revealed, right? But beyond those levels of the soul that are revealed in the body and power of the body, intellect, emotion, right? No, beyond that. Coming from a place far deeper than that, a place where the Jew says, there's nothing other than the Eibishter, and I have to go to battle against this Greek. Seichel doesn't say that. Seichel says, don't go to battle. Lay low, wait this out. The Seichel can explain to you the bitachon and the Eibishter, and it's all going to work out, and somehow we're going to come out of this. How many of us, who knows, but the end of the Jewish people is not happening. Right? Okay. Don't have to go fight them. Mesiras Nefesh says, this reality can't be, you have to go take them on. And they did. Right? Val Yedei Zeh, what did that bring about? Page called base, we just turned the page, which is very exciting.
Rabbi, that's a question. There's an idea that we're not supposed to rely on miracles. So, in what situation? It seems that it's...
Very good question, right? Meaning, if they had asked a Rav, should we go fight? He would have said no. He would have said no. If Pinchas had asked a Rav to go get Zimri, what would the Rav have said?
No.
No. So, on a certain level, what we're saying, and this is taught in Pinchas a lot. The Rebbe's not saying this here at all, right? Because Hanukkah just doesn't go there. But Pinchas, what's Pinchas all about? Pinchas is all about something, and you have to be careful when you say it, because someone might take this the wrong way, and it can be a dangerous idea. But Pinchas is all about the fact that you and I have a relationship with the Eibishter that transcends Torah. Why? Well, we know them. Chazal, right? Chazal say that there are two things created before the world. What were they? Torah of Yisrael, and then that's Beishis Rabbah. And in Tanit Be'Eliyahu, so Eliyahu Navi asks, which of those is first? Yisrael. Who serves who, so to speak? So down here we serve the Torah. We don't ask anything. What the Torah tells us to do, we do. The Torah tells us to jump, we jump. That's the way it goes down here. And there's no ifs, ands, or buts relative to that. But lefi the shorish, ultimately, and therefore it also expresses itself down here. What's the ultimate purpose of reality? The yid or the Torah? And Tanit Bela says the yid. That's the whole Chiddush of Chassidus. That's what Yud Kislev is all about. Right? The Baal Shem Tov was Megala, that the most important thing in all of reality is the Yid, not Torah. Now, does that mean we don't keep Torah? Chas v'sholom, chas v'sholom. What's the Baal Shem Tov all about? Getting people to keep Torah with more energy and more simcha and more seriously. Right? So a person who wants to anybody can take any idea and turn it into shtus, right? That's the problem of learning things. A person can take an idea that's a sophisticated idea and turn it into the stupidest, most ridiculous thing imaginable. Okay, so we have to be careful, right? So some people say don't teach anything sophisticated to anybody because they'll mess it up. Well, okay, Chassidus doesn't believe that. Okay, after the Arizal, we're allowed to. Right? The Arizal said we're allowed to. Okay, that being said, we have to be careful when we say these ideas. It's a Medrash Chazal, it's a Tana de Be'eliyahu, that Yisrael comes first. Right? Meaning the Torah was written for the Yid. The Yid was not created to keep the Torah. The Torah was written for the Jew to be able to express down here in Eilam Hazeh who he really is, which is a little piece of Elokus, which we'll see in his mind. The Rebbe's not going to talk about it in terms of Torah, he's going to talk about it just in terms of essential reality. Right? What's the difference between those two? And we talked about this, I think we talked about this before Yud Kislev, but it's important to talk about, it's important to know, right? And have very clear in our head. What's the nafkamina? My beinayu, the machlekes is, there's no machlekes, but the question as to whether or not Torah is first or Yisrael's first. If Torah is first, then what matters is Torah. And what's a Jew? A Jew is created to keep Torah. What if a Jew doesn't keep Torah? Complete and total waste of time. Not worth anything. Why? Because it's all about Torah and he doesn't keep Torah. So he's just a brachal of a tongue. Right? Okay. That's not true. Why isn't that true? Well, because the ikar point is the yid. Right? And what's Torah? Torah is that which is given to the Jew to express who he is and connect to the Eibishter the way he should be connected, even though he's down here in Eilam Hazeh. Oh, so what about a Jew who doesn't keep Torah? Still a Jew. Still the most important thing in the eyes of the Eibishter. Just unbelievable. It's an unbelievable tragedy that this person is not expressing who they are and what they're really all about. But they still are that. It's not that they're not that. Right? That's a completely different way of looking at reality, and that's the way the Baal Shem Tov taught us to look at reality, and that's why that medrash on a certain level is the most important medrash in all of Chazal relative to Chassidus. What's it really all about? It's all about the Yid. That doesn't mean the Yid doesn't have to keep Torah because he has to keep Torah. Right? Right? But why does he keep Torah? He keeps Torah to be a Yid? No. He's a Yid, so he keeps Torah. Doesn't have to keep Torah to be a Yid. He's a Yid. So what does he do? He's better do holy things. Holy people should do holy things. What are those holy things? Mitzvahs. The mitzvah doesn't make the Jew a Jew. The Jew is the reason since he's a Jew, he has to do mitzvahs. Or to put it slightly differently, right? The Jew's not holy because he does mitzvahs. He does mitzvahs because he's holy. Holy things do holy things. What should a Jew be doing? Sitting and drinking beer and burping all day? No, that's not shaykh for a Yid. Why? Because he's holy. Let a lion eat something all day and may have a good belch and then go to sleep. Okay, good. That's good for lions. There's no problem. That's fine. Nothing wrong with a lion living that way. No, look at this lion. What a lowlife. He's not a lowlife. He's just a lion. Let him be. Well, he's being very good at it. Matter of fact, he's better at being a lion than you and I are being a Jew. He's a perfect lion. He does exactly what lions are supposed to do. Okay, what are we supposed to do? Holy things. Why? Because we're holy. And sometimes we're like the lion. That's chaval. We're not supposed to be that way. Doesn't mean we don't eat. Of course we eat. But not like a lion. So what happened? By virtue of the Veata from below, now there's the milamayla lamata from above below. They drew down from a level of godly light that's beyond the natural order. Our supernatural avoda brought about a supernatural response. That's what the Rebbe just said. Okay, so then all the Rebbe's doing is asking the question very powerfully, right? So that's the milchama. It's all l'mayla min hateva. What are you talking Chaf Daled? It's all Chaf Vav. The whole story is Chaf Vav. U'l'mayla l'mata shal yedei or zeh me'erim gam esacheshach. And from above below, through the revelation of this light, it illuminates also the dark. V'havaya giya chashki, the last thing we saw yesterday. The level beyond the Havaya illuminates the dark. V'havaya, right? Which we saw in the previous Maimer we saw yesterday. In this Maimer we see it a third time. Chut meshula shloini yinatik, right? A string of 3 strands doesn't get broken. You see something 3 times, you remember it. V'zeu sheb'chanukas mikdash. Now other differences between the Mikdash and Chanukah. The Chanukas Mikdash, Hayu Zayin Neris, right? There were 7 candles, natural order. Umakema B'Dorim, and it was in the south. Chesed. Not the north, which was the right side. Sha'or Sheheir B'Mikdash, that the light that shone in the Mikdash, Kaven since that light was not drawn down through Mesiras Nefesh. So what was it? It was 7. What's 7? The highest level in Seder Ishtalshelus. The holiest level in Seder Ishtalshelus. What's an example of that we can experience? Called Shabbos. What's Shabbos? Shabbos is the holiest place in time. And it's a lofty place in time. But what is Shabbos not? It's not transcendent of time, because it has a beginning and an end. If Shabbos were transcendent of time, there would never be an 8. Be Yom Shekulah Shabbos. Well, it's Mashiach, right? Mashiach is going to be Yom Shekulah Shabbos, the revelation of the 8th, which is Shabbos forever. Right? That's why we saw this also in the Maimer Tana Rabbanan, right? That the Kinnor of Mashiach has 8 strings. The Kinnor in the Beis HaMikdash had 7, because the Beis HaMikdash is the highest level of Kedusha in the natural order. That's why when you walked out of the Beis HaMikdash, you were out of that state of godly revelation. It wasn't outside, it was inside. Right? So it was limited. It was amazing, incredible, fantastic, but it was limited. Limited in space, limited in time. First one lasted 410 years. The second Beis HaMikdash lasted 420 years. The Mishkan was in Shiloh for 359 years. Okay, so it all expressed in time. So therefore, the Gilu is in Ishtalshelus. Zion there, 7 candles. The highest level of Ishtalshelus, like Shabbos, but still Ishtalshelus. Lochein, and this is why, a beautiful idea, and probably see a mimer about it after Pesach. That's why Shavuos, right? When do we start counting Sfiras HaEmer so that we have the koyach to get to Matan Torah? Mimachras HaShabbos, the day after Shabbos. What does that mean? It doesn't mean the day after. The Stoikim said that means we start counting Sfira on Meitzi Shabbos. That means you don't start counting Sfira until Meitzi Shabbos Chol HaMoed. It's a simple shot, right? No, we say Meitzi Mimach Shabbos means the day after Pesach, meaning we start counting Meitzi Yom Tov Rishon of Pesach. And so there were battles royal in the second Beis HaMikdash as to when Shavuos was. If Shavuos falls out on Shabbos, so then there's no problem. In Meitzi Shabbos, everybody starts counting. But what if Shavuos falls out on a Tuesday, so that we start counting? If it's Monday night, Tuesday, so we start counting Tuesday night. That means Shavuos is going to be Tuesday night, Wednesday. That's the way it is every year, right? Okay, the day after the first Seder. But the Stoikim would only start counting 4 days later, Meitzi Shabbos, because it says Mimachas Shabbos, the day after Shabbos. Perfectly reasonable pshat there, pshat. It's not right, but it's reasonable. Okay, so what is Taka? Why does it say Mimachas Shabbos? The Rebbe explains. What's the koyach to bring about real change in yourself, elevate your midas? A level beyond Shabbos. It has to come from a level beyond Shabbos. Mimachos Shabbos. If it's Shabbos, then you're just disciplining yourself. It's the same midah. It's just well behaved. What do you have to do? You have to illuminate it, not just discipline it. Discipline is necessary. Without discipline, I can't illuminate it. But the idea is to illuminate it with the light of the Nefesh Elokis, not simply discipline it itself. It'll be a well-behaved Nefesh Bahamis. No, it should be a lichtige Nefesh Bahamis. It should be an illuminated Nefesh Bahamis. Right? And that comes from Immerse Shabbos, a level beyond Shabbos. Oh, okay, so Shabbos also is similar to this, 7.
What's the level beyond Shabbos?
8, what we're learning about here.
With what the Rebbe was referring to why we don't start counting right on Motzi Shabbos.
The way to bring about the Veata of Sphere Saver is only from a level beyond the natural order. What I just in the Veata, what does that mean? The way to change is not simply discipline. Discipline is necessary because without it, if I don't stop smoking cigarettes, I can't become a non-cigarette smoker. Well, let's put it in cigarettes. There's a better example in Gashmius is dieting. A person who's seriously overweight. Okay, fine. Discipline, great, beautiful. They lose 50 pounds. What happens over the next 6 months?
Gain it back.
They gain it back. Why? Because it was all just discipline. What do they have to do? They have to develop a different relationship to food. They have to change, real change, not just discipline themselves. They have to change. That's much harder, evidently. I mean, it's fairly clear that this is not an issue that I have. Right? Okay. But there's people who have a battle with this all the time. Right? And what's the battle? The battle is not, there's a chisonistic part of the battle. There has to be discipline. Just don't eat bread and potatoes. Don't eat that stuff and you'll lose weight. Okay, fine. But at a certain point, if I don't change my relationship with food, I'm just going to go back. All I'm doing is delaying the gratification that I'm going to get from food after I finally lose the 50 pounds. I'm just going to put it back because, Baruch Hashem, now I'm free. No, then I didn't change. I just disciplined myself for however long, which is impressive, right? I mean, the person who says quitting smoking isn't hard, I've done it 10 times. Has to develop a different relationship to life so that particular taiva is not part of it. Right? Okay, now that obviously is not easy, right? Because people have a hard time doing that. And, it's a big bracha never to have started, so you don't have that challenge in your life. Okay, fine. Most people who started just, very young and very stupid. And then, they end up at a certain age going, wait a minute, why am I doing this to myself? And it's a battle royal these poor people have to go through to get rid of that. But the real battle is bringing about an inner change in how I'm relating to who I am, what I'm at, what like the Alcoholics Anonymous, what are they all about? Relating to yourself differently. Of course you have to have discipline, but it's all about relating to yourself differently, the steps of it. It works. I mean, it's so much of that is communious. The one part of it that Torah might have difficulty with is that you can never, I understand, best to think you can never get out of it, so you'll never let yourself fall back, but that you can never really change. So Torah wouldn't agree with that. Now, I don't know whether that Torah would agree with that relative to alcohol, I'm saying, but in general, when you and I talk about tshuva, we talk about the possibility of real change. But that real change comes from connecting to a higher level, not just disciplining myself, because discipline is not change. Discipline is all 7. Right? What's transcendence in 7? So we've talked about this. Sport. It's not transcendent. It's just a new level of limitation. No one ever jumped over a bar this high. Okay, so that was a new limitation. I didn't transcend limitation. I just created a new limitation. It's very interesting watching someone try to do that because no one ever did it. Okay, say it. It's just a new level of transcendence, but it's not transcendence, it's a new level of limitation. But people like it because you can't watch people truly transcending limitation in a spiritual way. It's boring. You're not going to get 1 billion people to watch the World Cup of davening. But you'll get them to watch the World Cup of soccer. Right.
I'd watch.
There's nothing to watch. There's nothing to watch. Well, it's not a problem. You can do that. Go online and get a video of the Rebbe davening. How long are you going to watch it for? It's, I don't want to say it, right? But it is relatively boring. How long can you sit and watch that video? Right? There's no tension. There's no who's going to win. There's not. You're just watching a tzaddik talk to God. Now that's a pretty amazing thing. Okay, but you're going to have to be a pretty an incredible person to be able to watch that for more than an hour or two. No double headers. It's just sort of, wow. I mean, that story that I told about the Mittler Rebbe, I told you guys, I saw about someone watching him stand in the middle of the room. So he watched him for a couple of hours late at night, but as soon as the Mittler Rebbe turned around and faced the wall, he walked away. He said, okay, now I'm going to watch the Mittler Rebbe face the wall. What was he doing when he was facing the wall? Exactly the same thing he was doing when he was standing in the middle of the room. He was singing over the Maimon. Well, first time to his father, second time to the Baal Shem Tov and the Maggid. Okay, but it wasn't, how long can I watch that? That's real transcendence. That's the real thing. He's talking to the neshamas. And I don't know how long you and I would have lasted at the door before we got tired. Yaakov Katter didn't get tired. He was at the door for a couple of hours. He was a pretty serious chassid. Schlep us to the door, you can watch the Rebbe. Okay, we'll watch. How long are we going to watch? I don't know. It's not a good spectator sport, Judaism. Even though everybody seems to find Lubavitch interesting. Now, I don't know. People come around here as much as they used to come around in Geula. It's Thursday night, half the world come and see what's going on here. Probably not because we're so out of the way. When we're in Geula, so half of Geula used to walk in the Zal to see what the Lubavitch is up to. Everybody wants to see. And these are Balei Tshuva from college campuses in America. And all these kids from Geula are like, what are they up to? We're an interesting spectator sport, Lubavitch. So the Orshim, there was Meir B'Mikdash, Kevin Shem Shachsai, so lo yalidei Mesiras Nefesh. Haya, what was it? Gilui D'Ishtalshlus, it's natural order, Zayin Neres. V'lochein, now the Rebbe explains something very, very beautiful that's shaykh to us. L'chein makam ha-menorah haya b'darim. Therefore the menorah was in the darim, on the yamin, on the right side. Why? That's chesed. Now the Rebbe says an amazing thing. If we're on the left side, what's left? Left is gvura, left is concealment, left is tzimtzum. It might be affected. Yinikas achitzonim means the nourishment of external reality. In other words, it might have been affected negatively by klipa. Oh. So the menorah, which is the highest level in kedusha, of kedusha in Seder Yishtash, in the natural order, but since it's still part of the natural order, and what's in that natural order, what's part of that? Another part of that natural order is klipa, not just kedusha. So if it were on the left, where the klipa is more powerful, it might have been affected by the klipa, so it had to be on the right. Where do we put our menorah? We just learned it in Gemara yesterday. Left. Why? Because it's 8. It's 8. It's no problem. It's not going to be affected by the negative reality on the left. You can elevate it and illuminate it. Yes, it's opposite the mezuzah, fine. The mezuzah's on the right. The mezuzah's protecting us. Right? V'neres Chanukah, shela achrei Mesiras Nefesh, after the Mesiras Nefesh draws down this level of light that's beyond the natural order. Him ches neres. First there are 8, which is or shelamayla mishtalshlus, which is a light beyond the natural order. Shemasakin gamis kavas small. It can also fix it can affect positively the negative, the so-called negative side of reality. Small. Right? We Jews do everything right-handed. Right? Now, that if you're a lefty, it might be that you do everything left-handed because that's your right hand. Right and left aren't absolute. Right and left are stronger and weaker. Okay, so a lefty puts his tefillin on his weak arm, which is his right arm. Right, okay, now how does a lefty get dressed? I assume a left-handed person gets dressed by putting their left arm in the sleeve first, because that's, by them, that's the right, that's the most powerful side, which is chesed. I would assume, I don't know, you have to ask a lefty.
I'm a lefty.
Yeah, oh yeah, so how do you
I don't know
get...
if I do my left or right.
Right.
I think I do my right arm first.
Right.
I don't know.
Okay. Anyway, you have to ask a Rav, what should you do? Well, that's how we do it. We ask rabbis, what do I do? So now there might, I'm sure there are 2 different positions as to what a lefty does, right? Rabbi Ashkenazi Olav Shalom, who used to be the Rav of, he was the Rav of Chabad, so he was a lefty. And after putting tefillin on his right arm, Rashi Rabbeinu Tam, he would put Rashis on his left arm, based on the shita that it's absolute as opposed to relative. And so he would without a bracha, he would just put tefillin. We say he would put Rabbeinu Tam's on without a bracha, but he would put tefillin on his left arm like everybody else after he finished davening. Right? I think he did. I think it was just his regular pair of tefillin, and he just put them on. I don't think he had a pair of tefillin for that. He might have, maybe later in his life he did. I'm not sure. But a friend of mine who was a lefty, who was close to Rav Ashkenazi, and that's what he used to do. He unfortunately passed away. That's what I'm saying he used to do. But I mean, he was that's what he used to do. He used to put it. But he didn't have he definitely didn't have a special pair of tefillin. He just put his Rashis on upside down, like you would, on Mitzoyim if you only have right-handed tefillin, and a lefty comes, so you just sort of figure out how to get it on him, right, and the best you can. Okay, so that's what he would do with his lefty tefillin. Ba'alpi and mavur. Because certainly left-handed people put the menorah in exactly the same place and the mezuzah in exactly the same place. Valpia mavur, based on that was explained. Now we have this. I mean, the Rebbe's going to ask the question now, right? But we know there's this question. And the question is, Hanukkah is all about Mesiras Nefesh, all about the third level that we've been talking about. So why did we divide it up so neatly and succinctly into three levels? Chaf Dal, Chaf Hei, Chaf Vav. What's that about? Valpiyam Mavur B'Maimer. Based on that, which is explained in the Maimer, the Friedrich Rebbe's Maimer. Shal Yedei Mesiras Nefesh the Matzeo Bandav. Through the Mesiras Nefesh the Matzeo Bandav, Himshichu Or Shalamayla Mishtalshlus. They drew down a level of light beyond the Ishtalshlus. And now the Rebbe tells us what Havaya de Leila, the third level in the war. Right? Yesh Leimer. Now this is going to be in line with what we learned in Pada B'Shalom, and we can talk about it outside after we read this one line. Shegam Shoresh the Nes the Nitzach Shoresh Hanes the Nitzach and Milchama, also the root, the source of the Nes of the victory in the war, who Bavai de Laila is Havaya de Laila Shalamayla Mishtashas. Well, we know that because that's what we've been talking about. And we know that because we learned Tana Rabbana. So now the Rebbe just put it all in perspective. Wait a minute, we have a problem here. And our problem is that what? Even the true source of the war was the third level. Okay, so now why do we talk about the war in terms of the first levels? The Rebbe is about to say something really quite astounding and a very, very fundamental point in Veata. Now we saw it in Pada B'Shalom. We saw it in the Maimer Pada B'Shalom. The Rebbe said, what did the Rebbe say in Pada B'Shalom? We had to take probably the single, I don't know, there were so many important things in Pada B'Shalom relative to that whole story. But one of the most amazing things the Rebbe said in that Maimer is that every single thing that you do ultimately, Behelim, comes from Yechidah Shebenefesh. So it's all Shalom. Even the war is Shalom. Well, that's basically what we're saying here, right? Even the war, the true source of the war is Pada B'Shalom. So basically the Rebbe is going to explain things in the following way. And it's really quite astounding because there's an issue that I think probably all of us have, and Moshe asked the question the first time we bumped into Etzem and Neshama in our learning. So Moshe asked, well, wait a minute, can I experience that? Is that like shayach to where I am in my life? Right? Okay, so there are two different states of reality that are constantly, I mean, we're constantly, I wouldn't say experiencing, but there's two different levels of reality that are happening in our life. One state of, the essential state of a Jew is that the Jew is essentially connected to the Eibishter. That's who we are. And that's shaykh to every single Jew. A Jew is essentially connected to the Eibishter, Etzem and the Shama. That is our essential being. That's who we really are. That's what we're really about. Okay. So that's who that's the Emes Lamite. That's who we really are. That's the shurish. That's the source of everything. Okay, but what's the lavush? How is that expressing itself? Meaning, what's my conscious experience? Is my conscious experience an experience of Yechidah B'Nefesh? Probably not. Might very well be. Down there in the level of Bittul Yesh, Chav Daled, what's my conscious experience? This is a bloody war. This is a battle. I've got a Nefesh Elokis, I know that. But I've also got a Nefesh Bahamis. And he's making so much noise, and he's causing so much havoc. And he's enticing me to all sorts of places that are completely antithetical to who I really am. Oh, okay. So there's a level, and it's very interesting. And this is what Chassidus does, and Chassidus is absolutely unique in this. The first thing a Yid has to know, and it's so interesting because this is what we teach Yidden right away. The etzem of who you are is you're completely and totally connected to the Eibishter. That's who you are. That's what you are. It's the first thing a Jew has to know about himself or herself. That's who they are. They're completely and totally, they're a piece of Elokus walking around in a goof and Elam Hazid. Okay. But wait a minute, I don't experience that. Okay, good. Good, not good. That's reality. So now, how do you express that in your conscious life? That's the lavush of that down here. What might be the lavush of that? How does the lavush begin? How does the process begin? What's the first garment of that? Or what's a garment? A means of expression? How does that essential connection to the Eibishter express itself down here in Eilam Hazeh? It's probably going to express itself within the context of a lavush of a milchama. I'm going to be battling my Nefesh Bahamis tooth and nail all the time. Who am I really? I'm really essentially connected to the Eibishter. What's going on in my conscious life? Not that. Something very different than that. What's the true source of that battle? The true source of that battle is actually the fact that I'm essentially connected to the Eibishter. I have to remember that I'm essentially connected to the Eibishter, and that's what gives me the confidence that ultimately I'm going to win the war. But I'm experiencing a war. I'm experiencing the halavaya. We're in a level of bittul yesh where I completely won that war and could go to the next step, so to speak, which is bittul b'metzias. No. It's a battle. There's Nefesh Bahamis, there's Nefesh Elokis, there's Gashmias, there's Taivas Nilam Hazeh, there's all sorts of stuff. Okay. That's the lavush of it. That's the garment of the expression of the etzem and nefesh down here in a person in terms of that, so to speak, that's where they're holding. There's who you are and then where you're holding. Where are you in life? So now what's the first thing? So in addition, and it's so interesting. It's an unbelievable lesson in how it all works. The first thing we'll tell a Yid is you're a Yid. That's an essential state of being. Okay, now what? Now let's get to work. What's the work? Bittul yesh. Where does that Yid start? That Yid starts with Bittul yesh, there's no question. He starts with the idea that I've got a Nefesh Elokis, I know that, but I have a Nefesh Bahamis, and I have to deal with the Nefesh Bahamis, and I have to have discipline to iskafia. I have to have the discipline to deny the Nefesh Bahamis those things it might want that I realize are unhealthy and not good for me. Right? And I'm going to be involved in that battle for quite a while. It might even be 120 years. I'm going to be involved in that battle. Okay, and that's the beginning of it all. And conceptually, what's the beginning of it all? Yes, okay, the Jew knows that there's an Eibishter, and that the Jew knows that somehow, on some deep level relative to him, he's essentially connected to that Eibishter, right? Because he ran into some Lubavitcher along the line, and that's the first thing they told him, which is the first thing you tell a Yid, is that you're the Eibishter's, you're the Eibishter's only child, born in his old age. That's who you are. Okay, fine. Amazing. Okay, but now I have to deal with that within the context of everyday conscious life. So in terms of my intellectual understanding, what's the first thing I come to? There's a world, but the world was created by God, and there's a purpose to that world, and the purpose is that I should serve God in that world. That's the beginning of a person's avodah, generally. That's what we talk about. So what JSP talks about all day, isn't it? Right? JSP talks about what I have to do And we're doing it now too. What I have to do within the context of my existence in Elam Haza, I somehow have to use my time a little better and use my life a little better and express my intellect a little better and make sure that my emotions are expressing themselves in a positive, godly way. Okay, that's Bittul Yesh. It's the beginning of a Veata. Okay? Now, we know that really, in order for that Veata to be proper, I have to have an appreciation of a transcendent level beyond that, because if it's only that, it'll be Zion, and it's going to, Aser Mater Satzmai, the prisoner can't get himself out of prison. So I have to be appreciative of the fact that there's a completely transcendent level of reality beyond me, where the world isn't opposition, the world is really all godly. That's Yehudi law. And I have to think about that. I have to meditate about that. I have to learn about that. But my Aveda is down there in Yehuda Tata. That's where I am. But how am I going to make sure that my Aveda of Yehuda Tata actually works? Because I'm also going to contemplate Yehudi law. That's Kuntrusei Tzachayim of the Rebbe Rashab explaining why you have to learn Chassidus. Right? What's learning Gemara all about? Yehuda Tata. There's a world, but you have to know how to navigate the world in light of God's will. How to do it. Right? Where might Chassidus take you? There's no world. Whoa. Let's look at this in a little deeper way here. Is there really a world? And if there is a world, what's the world? Oh, it's all just Elokus. Okay, that's Yehudi law. And you know what? There's not even a world, B'chlal. It's all Einod Milvada. It's all the Eibishter. Okay. Where am I in all that? Well, it might be I'm still down there in Yehuda Tata. I know there's that. And I realize that that's actually essential existence. And not only is that essential existence that's essential existence of me too. Because that's really what I am. I'm really that third level. But where am I expressing it? Where is it playing out? Down here on the ground floor. Mm-hmm. That story that you've heard, but it's such a great story. Some of you haven't heard it. I haven't heard it in a while, so I'm going to tell it because I get such pleasure from this story. Probably says a lot about me that I get pleasure from this story. There was a chassid who went to a shir in Chassidus by the Alter Rebbe. And the Alter Rebbe is talking about Einod Milvadai. There's nothing but a third level. He's blown away. He's hearing it from the Alter Rebbe. It's not like he's learning Tanya. The Alter Rebbe is teaching the shir. So he's Einod Milvadai, and he's just, wow, Einod Milvadai. It's all Eibishter, Einod Milvadai. He walks out and he's contemplating Einod Milvadai. And he's a serious guy, this guy. He's walking along contemplating Einod Milvadai. And he's in a place where he doesn't exist, nothing. There's just the Eibishter. He's just, wow. Amazing. He's walking along and he's so oblivious to everything around that he doesn't even notice that there's a low-lying branch over the path that he's walking on. And usually you have to either go off the path a little or bend down to avoid the branch, which he's probably done many times in his life, but he forgot all about it because he was so engrossed in Einod Milvadai, and he smashed into the branch, his forehead, and his feet went out from under him. Boom, he landed on the ground. His head is all scratched from the bark. His head is killing him because he just smashed into this branch. His backside is not so comfortable either because he fell straight on the ground. And he's really in pain. And his head especially is really hurting. So he said, wow, my head really hurts. But what do you mean head? What head? Ain't no father. I don't have head. There's no head. Right? But my head really hurts. And why does my head hurt? That branch. But there's no branch. Ain't no father. There's no branch. There's no head. So he sits on the ground for half an hour contemplating this. How can my head hurt if Einod Milvadai? How could the branch have hurt my head if Einod Milvadai? How does that all work? He's sitting there and he's contemplating and contemplating. And he finally comes, he says, I got it. Einod Milvadai, except that branch in my head. Oh, that's where we all are, right? That's every single one of us. Such an amazing story. Einod Milvadai, except me. There's me experiencing Einod Milvadai. You don't. You're not. You're really not as holy as me because I'm into Mavada. You're not. You eat chocolate pudding. Ugh, fat. You're really unholy. Wow. At least eat the vanilla. Don't eat the chocolate. Okay, mind. I can go there. That's the mamish down there in Yehuda. That's not even Yehuda Tata. That's just Tata. So how does this all work? Hanukkah is the resolution of it all on a certain level. It's so amazing. See, just one thing before you say something. What's really interesting is that the Rebbeim explain this difference between us, that exists in our life, the difference between who we really are and what the levush is, what the garment is, what the expression of it is in our conscious reality, in our everyday life. They don't experience this dichotomy. We do, but they don't. They explain it to us in a way we could never explain it to ourselves. Why? Well, that's why if you're beyond it, you can explain it. But if you're in it, it's going to be hard to explain as clearly as they do. Yeah?
So, was that guy who hit his head on the branch, and he's saying that he is feeling his own reality, but that there's also that like the whole world's godliness, but that he feels himself.
That he's taking himself out of that, the whole world is godliness. Right? That's why what he says is not true.
Okay.
Right.
So if what he said is not true, then what would be the correct way to?
There's Yehuda Tata, there's Yehudi Law, and there's Etzim. I mean, were the three levels the Rebbe discussed in his mind. That there's a level of Elokus where the world does exist, but the purpose of the world is for us to serve God in it. There's a level of reality where really the world is just godly, and there's a level of reality completely beyond the world, and there's no world. Einod Milvana. Those three levels are all true. One's emes, one's a deeper state of emes, and the third level is emes lamite. That's absolute emes. They're all true. They're just true on different levels. Do I exist? Yes. How do I know? It says, Bereshit bara Elokim es hashmayim v'haaretz. God created the world. The world's not an illusion. The world exists. Okay. Does the world have absolute existence? Absolutely not. All right. So why I thought you said it exists? It does exist. It's just, you and I will say it exists with a small e. It has that level of existence that you and I will call relative existence, not absolute existence. Absolute existence doesn't require anything else to give it existence. Does sunlight exist? Well, yes and no. Yes. Better not stay out in it too long, you'll get burned. No. This doesn't really exist. It's just an extension of the sun's existence. What really exists? The sun exists. Sunlight exists as an expression of the sun's existence. So its existence is certainly in no way, shape, or form absolute. Right? But I don't tell me it doesn't exist because my skin hurts. So I just sat out in it too long. I did not sit out in the sun. My skin would not hurt if I sat out in the sun. I would be batal b'metzius. I would be completely annihilated. No me. Sunlight, I do pretty well in sunlight if I deal with it the right way. Australia, you have to be very, very careful because evidently the hole in the ozone layer is right above Australia, and everybody in Australia is very, very careful about, putting on sunscreen, etc., etc. And the incidence of skin cancer in Australia are higher than anywhere else. Manyan. So when you're there, you have to be careful. It's hot. Okay, just put on. When you go hiking, you put on wherever anybody does. They all wear sunscreen. So interesting. They're very makbid about it. Why? Okay. Why? Sunlight. Oh, you gotta be careful about that sunlight. But sunlight, does sunlight exist? That's an interesting question. Sun does. Okay. It also doesn't, but I'm talking in the context of you and me. Sun exists. Does sunlight? No, not so sure. Can argue either way. Yeah.
So, for why the Rebbe is bringing up that the Melchama was Yehuda Tata and
we want to know.
Law.
We're now about to answer our question. We're starting to answer.
Okay.
What we just learned is going to be the answer to the question. That there's the essential level of reality, and then there's the expression of it. So how did Etzem and the Shama express itself on Chaf Daled Kislev? War. Yehuda Tata. Where's the source of that expression? That's it. But how did it express itself? There's a war. Right? It's not that the Greeks disappeared. I mean, theoretically, there could have been an explosion of Etzem and the Shama of the Chashmonaim, and the Greeks would just disappear. There's no more Greeks. Right? Rav Levi Yitzchak Berditchev asked the Alter Rebbe, why didn't you just burn down Petersburg? He was in jail in Petersburg.
Oh.
Yotes Kislev. You were around Yotes Kislev.
Yeah, I didn't.
He was in jail in Petersburg. He won. He asked, why didn't you just burn it down? Why'd you go through all that? Wow, manya. He could, evidently. Evidently, he's connected to a level of reality where you can just annihilate Petersburg. That wasn't his Veata. What was his Veata? What did he write when he came out? That the ministers of the government were awed by the majesty of God because they couldn't figure out how in the world I walked out a free person. Because that doesn't happen. They signed off on it, but they were all awe-struck by the godliness of all of it. That wouldn't have happened if he burnt down Petersburg. So he had an Aveda to do. What was the Aveda? Yehuda Tata. But what did Yehuda Tata reveal? Pada B'Shalom. It was all just Yechidah Shebenefesh, right? I mean, that's what we learned in Pada B'Shalom. On one hand, the Rebbeim are in jail, held in jail by these heathens called Russians. On the other hand, they're walking away unscathed. And who could really give the Alter Rebbe trouble? Another Jew. The 3 hours by the Misnagid was more painful than the 53 days in jail. That's what the Alter Rebbe said. Because that Jew is also connected to that. So there's a real power in Klippa, that Jew. The Alter Rebbe said this 3 hours by the Misnagid on his way, after he got out of jail, was more painful than the 53 days in jail. Because this guy's supposed to be connected to Immerse, and what's to know. One of the questions he asked the Alter Rebbe was, what's Elimelech of Lezhansk all about? Famous Chassid, another Talmud of the Maggid. So this guy had Rav Elimelech of Lezhansk book in his house, but he had it hidden under the couch so no one would see it. Right? Because he was obviously he was like one of those people who's interested in what the Chassidim were about, because he was torturing the Alter Rebbe for 3 hours trying to figure out what was going on. So what did the Alter Rebbe answer him? He said, if Elimelech himself were under your couch, as opposed to just his book, he wouldn't complain. He's a very humble person. That's what he told him. So did this guy get it? I don't know whether he got it. I don't know. Does that guy have an etzem in the shama? Absolutely. What's the lavush? The lavush wasn't as healthy as we'd want. What about that Jew who's eating non-kosher food and washing it down with non-kosher wine? What about that Jew? Does he have an etzem in the shama? Absolutely. What's the lavush? Klipa shebaklipa. Does he have an etzem in the shama? He's as holy as Moshe Rabbeinu. Right? But what's happening? The lavush is a disaster. Okay, you and I, do we have etzem in the shama? Absolutely. Is the lavush as disastrous as that guy? No, Baruch Hashem. No, the lavush is working hard on getting to a place where it's a pretty healthy lavush. It's still a lavush. It's still Yehuda Tato. What's it a lavush for? Etzem in the shama. Right? That's what we saw in Pada B'Shalom. That's what the Rebbe is explaining here. So we'll see. We're going to stop in a minute, but we'll see that each subsequent level of the miracle, as the miracles become more and more mufshat from Gashmias, more and more disconnected from physical reality, the true source, what on Chafei, the Yehudi law of Hanukkah, and what on Chavav, the Etzem of Hanukkah. And so once I see the Etzem, what do I realize? Haftalah was also Etzem, right? That's such an unbelievable shot. That's what's really going on. So now this mimer and our mimer, the Tana Rabbanan, are both, they're going to be in sync. Let's just read another line so we'll finish with the Rebbe talking and we'll pick it up tomorrow. יש להם, שגם שורש הנס דניצחון המלחמה הוא בהוויה דלילה של המעלה מהשתלשלות. The true source of the מלחמה is also כ"ו. Right? כי המסירות נפש של מתתיהו בנו, the self-sacrifice of Matthew and his children, Haisa Shagam Shahayu Chaloshim Umatim, even though they were weak and few, Mikol Makom, nevertheless, Lachamu Neged Gibarim Verabim, they fought against the ones who were strong and many. The cave and Shayidei Mesiris Nefesh Elahem, and since through the Mesiris Nefesh, Shalamayla Mishtashlu Shabadim, which is completely beyond the Ishtashlus, meaning the levush was a milchama, but the panemius was etzem and neshama, completely transcendent of the natural order. They weren't touching their nefesh, their neshama sheba nefesh, or even their chaya sheba nefesh. They were touching their yechida sheba nefesh, and because of that they went to war. But what was the expression of that? A war. Yehuda tato. Out there battling forces of darkness and forces of evil, as opposed to just mamela illuminating them. Second miracle, just finding something. I didn't have to do anything, I just found it. They'll look around a little, but I found it. Third miracle, I didn't do anything. God just, whoa, what God did. It all starts with the war. So therefore, himshichu ha'or shalamaylu mishtash, they drew down a light that was beyond ishtashus. From all of that move on shanes the masar the giborim biyad chaloshim, the nace of you put in the giborim into the hands of the chaloshim, the strong ones into the hands of the weak ones, v'rabim biyad matim, and the many in the hands of the few. Shenim shachal yidei mesiris nefesh alehem, right? That was brought about through the mesiris nefesh. Hu miyavai de'leila. That's ultimately from the highest level. It's just the garment. The Rebbe's going to talk about the garment. Right? We've talked about a lot outside, so when we run into it inside, we'll understand what the Rebbe's saying. The garment of it was Yehuda Tato, a milchama, a battle. Like your avodah of battling the nefesh habahamis. But the source of it is etzem neshama. Wasn't that what the Rebbe said in Pada B'Shalom about every single mitzvah we do? Well, okay, so now the Rebbe is explaining it in much fuller terms. That's what the life of a Jew is all about. Mitzad echad, we're this little piece of Eibishter walking around in a body in Elam Hazah. Mitzad sheni, we might have a tiger for treif ice cream. I mean, hopefully no one here has a tiger for treif ice cream, but I mean, it's possible for a Jew to have a tiger for treif ice cream. How can that be? What's the lavush? Where am I holding? What I am, I know. Where am I holding? Oh, that's a different thing, right? It's so amazing. Why aren't I holding by the Yetzer? We'll see. Because ultimately, it's not that they contradict each other, they ultimately elevate each other and illuminate each other. Yehuda Tata ultimately is the truest expression, we'll see. It's the truest expression of Etzem. Because ultimately, where does the Eibishter want to be revealed? Down here. Right? Which is wild. The highest level of it all is going to be Yehuda Tata. Therefore, what's going to be the Iker Nes of Hanukkah? According to this Maimon, what's the Iker Nes of Hanukkah? The Lacham. Wow. That's...
They access the etzem by the Melchama.
So you
That's the ultimate access of the Etzem. Right? That's the ultimate Messiah, the ultimate expression of Yechida Shebenefesh in this whole story is they went to war.
So he kind of switched. Yeah. Like,
We'll see. Right? It's unbelievable. Russian unbelievable. Ein kamo Rebbe Shalom. Okay. We're getting there.
thank you very much.
Actually, tough mind actually.
Oh, it's